Mr. Heminda, you are an esteemed person in the field of inventions, but we would like to get to know more about you. So, could you please describe yourself in a few words?
I'm engineer by profession. My qualifications says that I'm an engineer, but then uh, what I do right now is actually I love innovations, entrepreneurship. I help a lot of people to get into innovations, get into entrepreneurship. Also, I support teams who are already doing it, and also I run a few startups in Sri Lanka as a co-founder, as an investor, and also as a part of the team. And in addition, I work or engage in a few organizations as well, mainly to promote innovations, entrepreneurship, and various other things. That's what I do.
Thank you, Heminda. How did your invention career start? And we are very interested in the foundation or the turning point in your life that made you become an inventor.
Just to tell you that I as a person, as an individual, I have never invented anything, right? So I have to tell you upfront. But then I was always interested in doing new things, starting something new. It doesn't have to be always a tangible thing. Even doing a concept or a idea, or even not just idea in my head, but I want that idea to be in a lot of people's head to promote a concept. And also looking at even process innovations, right? So that was my interest even when I was a kid. But my methodology is not that I try to do anything on my own, because I know in inventions maybe you can do on your own, but then again I think you have to understand the difference between invention and innovation. Invention is something new to the world, but innovation is a lot more than that. You need to see that invention going into people, promote it. So that's the more difficult thing, right? Building something new is not that easy, but taking that idea to people, and if that the case of many people, is the harder part. So that's where I'm really interested in. So I know that the entire cycle of innovation is not something that one person can do. So that's why I'm always I advocate people that if you want to become an innovator, it can't be your own work. It has to be a teamwork. So you need to have a right team. If you don't have a team right now, that's fine, but then you have to build that team. Otherwise, you can't do innovations in the modern world. So that's what I do. I help teams who are already trying to innovate. And because what happens is, to become an innovator, you need to know a lot of things. It may be your technical skill, your marketing skills, selling skills, a lot of other areas like business skills, all that need to be there. So one person may not have all that skills to excel. So I think that's where you need to have a different skill set in one team. That's the only way you can innovate. So I'm an advocate of teamwork, and also multidisciplinary skills in one place. So that's where you can do innovations. And so how it started was basically I started helping a few teams. And today, one of the teams I started an organization called Gender Innovations, which we already have about 2 patents now. One in Japanese market and one in US market. We got the patents for both countries, and also we are looking at creating already. Even though we have not patented anything, we have created quite a few new ideas. The same team. And also I started another organization called Turu, where we have not got any patents under that organization, but we have done quite a few new things in Sri Lanka and outside Sri Lanka as well.
Great to hear all this, sir. So, Mr. Heminda, as we know, your field of expertise is nanotechnology. What made you so interested in that field? And if you could talk about your journey and what nanotechnology is to our youngsters who are keen to learn.
So again, my expertise is not nanotechnology, that I will tell you. Even though I headed Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology for 2 years. So what you should understand is you don't need to be expert in one area to run an organization which has expertise in certain area. For example, the Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology, or SLINTech, is the premier research facility in Sri Lanka, obviously focused on nanotechnology. But then when I took over the position as the COO, I knew very little about nanotechnology, to tell you the truth. But then I had experience in engineering and innovations and a lot of things, how technology can be transferred into innovations, technology transfer, all that I had a lot of experience. So that's what really put me in that position. But during my 2 years, I learned a lot about nanotechnology. It was not just that I headed an organization, the premier research facility in Sri Lanka, but then I learned a lot about nanotechnology. So now I could say that I know a few things about nanotechnology. I'm using some of that knowledge into actual practice as well. So I think what I really like is the high-tech technology, whether it's nanotechnology, biotechnology, or whether it's electronics, pharmaceuticals, it doesn't matter, but I like high technology and how high-tech products can be marketed in Sri Lanka and also in the export market. So that's an area that I'm really focused on. So in that case, I know that nanotechnology has a great potential in Sri Lanka, and a technology that can, a country like Sri Lanka can really excel and become one of the premier players in the world market. So that I know that Sri Lanka also can do in a field like nanotechnology.
Yes, Mr. Heminda. And our fourth question is, a main target of an innovator is to be a successful entrepreneur through his or her inventions. So according to you, sir, what are the key factors that we have to focus and work on if we want to be successful entrepreneurs?
I think I told one, which is you have to be a team player. You can't do anything on your own. So if you don't have a team, it's very difficult to become an innovator or an entrepreneur. You can play the lead role, but then it's not about it's your own talent. It has to be a mix of talent from mix of people. And if you don't know how to do that, how to get the maximum out of your team, if you can't play as a team player and also to lead a team, it's very difficult to become an entrepreneur or an innovator, or even any other person in the modern society. So I think one of the key factors that you have to learn is how you work with a team, the team spirit, build the team, and then also work as a team. So at one point of time, you may be just a follower of somebody else's, maybe the team lead. And also at any time, you should be able to take the leadership role as well in that team. Then if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, one of the key things that you should know is the selling skills. You should be a good salesman. I mean, you can be an IT entrepreneur, you can be a technology entrepreneur without knowing much of technology or not knowing a little IT. But sales skills, that is something that you have to learn. Without sales skills, it's very difficult to become an entrepreneur, because at different levels, you will be doing a lot of sales in your life if you want to be an entrepreneur. Say at the start, maybe you are selling your product or idea or whatever to your investors, or maybe you are trying to sell it to your first customer. So you have to do that. You can't employ a salesperson to do that. So it's your sales skills that will take the first sale. Then even later on, I mean, even though you have a big team, now we have a team of salesperson to sell it, but still, you have to still pitch that product to various organizations to get the support, maybe government support, maybe investor support, to various other things. So I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, the sales skill is an essential one. Then I think you need to have the negotiation skills, how to, you as a person, you have to be a very patient person. I mean, a lot of things will not come as you want, because entrepreneur works in a very, I would say, chaotic situation. I mean, in an organization, when you go below, the chaos is less because everything is nicely settled. But the more you go above, up in the organization, it's more chaotic because nothing is told what to be done. So you have to find the path, find the way in the chaos that you have to run. So if you don't know how to run an organization or to become successful in a chaotic situation, if you can do that, that's a pretty good ingredient for you to become a successful entrepreneur. So I think that needs a lot of patience, understand the patterns, understand how certain things you don't have a lot of time to learn. For example, suddenly a tax system might change, suddenly the customer orientations might change, the way people behave will change, economic, other political issues might rise without any early signs, right? What happened, I think obviously what happened in Sri Lanka. It was all good up to January, but suddenly the entire Sri Lanka went upside down. But if you want to be a successful entrepreneur with all these issues coming up, you should be able to anticipate them as early as possible, and also to make sure that you manage all these issues. So I think that's the main ingredients what you require to become a successful entrepreneur.
Thank you for that great explanation, Heminda. So our next question is, as you all know, Sri Lanka is one of the most prominent graphite manufacturers in the world. If we can make graphite in Sri Lanka, why can't we make things out of graphite and make a higher income through it?
So we are not if you look at the volumes, we are not the highest, but we used to be 100 years ago in 1915, 1920, those days, we were probably the highest, the biggest manufacturer in graphite. But then it changed. Now, of course, China and few other countries, they do the volume. But if you look at the purity wise, the carbon purity wise, and obviously certain type of graphite, the graphite type that we have is known as vein graphite. So we are the largest producer of vein graphites in the world. But if you go to China, it's flake graphite and many different types and different attributes, different type of material. It's the same graphite, but the way it comes, the crystalline structure is different. But where we can excel is that we have the highest quality level graphite in the world, and we are the only country with this much. We could say we are the only country with the vein graphite. There's one other country which they have, but then we are the prominent vein graphite manufacturer in the world. But the problem is graphite as it is, if you sell it, what you can earn is very little. So that's what has happened in Sri Lanka. I think any natural resource that we have, we shouldn't sell it as it is. I think we should be able to add value and sell something with a value addition. So I think that's what we are not really doing right now. So if you can do that, not only for graphite, but many other things, say cinnamon, even tea, right? Tea, we do very little value addition, even though we are known as one of the leading tea countries in the world, but the value addition that we do is not enough. So if you maybe only value addition we can talk about is the apparel industry, but then again, apparel also now changing really fast. So I think even we need more value additions in apparel industry as well. So I think the key is that we need to look at the value additions in graphite and graphite related business. Then only we can look at higher profits and also better income, foreign income in dollars in the future.
Yes, Heminda, and as we know, you are a co-founder of many companies and startups, as you said, as well as a chief operating officer of the Sri Lankan Nanotechnology Institute. And Mr. Heminda, what strategies do you follow to manage your time while maintaining a good mental health?
So I'm no longer at Sprintech, but I used to be at there from 2019 to 2021. So right now I'm the Director Planning and Operations at SLTC Research University, which I started from beginning of this year. But in addition, I'm engaged in a lot of other works. For example, Turu, I head that organization. Then I'm in the director boards of Effective Solutions, Gender Innovations, Venture Frontier Lanka, and also part of Trace board, which is Trace Expert City, which is actually built to innovate and promote Sri Lankan technology. And then also I'm part of various other organizations as well. So what I have to tell you is the time management, how I do time management is basically in most of the work that I do. For example, Turu, I have found the right partner, right co-founder to run that organization, and a good team. Even Gendo, there's my co-founder or the right now the CEO of Gendo Innovation. He runs the organization with his team. I'm part of the director board. So everywhere that there is some involvement, one of the things that I do, I find the right person to run the organization, and that's how I could manage. So then, for example, Effective Solutions, the company, which is one of the, I wouldn't say it's a startup now, it's quite big now. We have about 35 people working there. It's a medium level software company. I'm one of the investors and one of the member of the director board, but then my involvement there is very little. So for example, I just speak to the management and maybe have one or two meetings a week. That's all I do. And anything else is I don't get into operational level. But then again, I know that I'm speaking to the right person who maybe with 10 minutes update, he gives the entire update of the organization. So that way it's very easy to manage a lot of things, a lot of different projects, a lot of different organizations. But the key is that you have to find the right talent. So I think I'm good at finding the right talent, which is something that I'm really working really hard these days to get the right talent for right work. And if you do that, if you can do that, you can excel in a lot of things. And on top of all that, there are so many other projects that I'm running or trying to run. And you might get to know all these things in the future. And I do all of them through connecting with the right person, the right talent. So I think that's a skill that everybody should learn, how to find the talent and getting the maximum out of that talent. So I think that's something that you will really cherish if you get that talent, finding the talent.
Thank you, sir. And our next question is, when we are starting our career of inventing, two core problems that we face are fear and lack of confidence. Sir, how do you overcome that two problems?
So very simple. I think when I started, it was I mentioned the Turu organization, Turu. I won't say that we have invented anything, so we don't have a patent under Turu yet, but then we know that we did a lot of things, a lot of new things. And one of the things that we did was a Turu app, which we got a global award as well. At Mobile World Congress, we were actually one of the best out of 5. One of the 5 best products in mobile telecommunication to fight climate change or climate issues. So I think we got that award for the recognition at MWC in 2020. But when we started Turu, I didn't know anything about Turu, anything about trees. I mean, Turu is actually the local language we talks about trees. So by the time that I started, I didn't have any, I mean, I never did botany or I never did anything about trees or biodiversity. But I had the confidence that I knew that if I focus on something, I can get that knowledge from outside. So exactly what I did was I connected with a lot of people who have the knowledge. For example, I spoke to the former Director General at Peradini Gardens. He's an expert in trees. Then I spoke to Mr. Andrew Sathuru Singh. He was a Conservator General at the Forest Department. He's an expert in forestry. Then I spoke to people like Dr. Vinya Ariyaratna. He's probably the best social entrepreneur in Sri Lanka. And because what we do as Turu is a social entrepreneurial venture. Then I spoke to various other people to get that knowledge. So I think the key to get the confidence is that you need to have that team. Not just below you, but above you as well, like the mentors, advisors, supporters. So I think if you have that set of people, I think your confidence level will I mean, even at very initial stage, it will be very high. So I think that's what is required. You don't have to know everything. I mean, you will never know everything. But if you know the right person who know the various areas that you don't know, I think you can then build your confidence. So I think even for any young inventor, my advice is also to get connected, get a good set of mentors, then obviously you can be very confident about what you're trying to do.
And sir, our final question, what is the best advice you can give to young inventors and entrepreneurs who are expecting to bring their imagination into a reality?
I think start very young. I mean, but you are still at school, so start very young, because this is the time that you can do a lot of mistakes. Nobody will say anything about it. So start young and learn from those mistakes. So once you've done a mistake, don't worry about it, but don't do the same mistake again and again. But if you start doing all these things very late in your life, I think by that time there's not enough time. But if you start inventing things, innovating things at school time, I think you are far ahead of the rest of the people. So I think you don't have to wait till that you learn everything. So a lot of people think that I need to have a degree to do all this. Some people think that to start working somewhere to do this. No, don't wait for all these things. Some people even think that I need a PhD to do all these things. No, it's never the case. I mean, if you feel that you have some knowledge, get the mentors, supporters to support you wherever there's a knowledge gap. Learn from the others and build it, and be confident. And if you start learn, if you while doing, you have to start learning. And if you have those ingredients, I think that you can be a very successful person. Whether it's innovations or entrepreneurship, doesn't matter. I think that's the kind of attitude that is required. So that will anyway keep you at a you will take you to a really successful life.
All right, that's all for the questions, sir. And thank you very, very much again for accepting our invitation. And thank you very much, sir. Have a nice day.